Hello and welcome. This is going to be a weekly, this is something new that I'm trying. This is going to be an all signs intuitive reading for the next week. And today, look at that, the time is 2:34, so 2:34 is November 29th. So for the next 7 days, these are the themes that have been coming up. And wow, it's funny actually. It's just called to the name Ruth has been coming up a fair amount in this past week. And I know that it's a forward thing, but actually I'm fairly sure that there's someone in the Bible named Ruth, and there might be some sort of chapters or things that have to do with that. I'm not sure if it has to do with the virtuous woman or something else. I'm very pagan. I'm not unversed with the Bible, but I certainly don't know everybody's names by heart. So if that calls to you, look for that. Or maybe there's something to do, maybe the meaning of the name Ruth. I'm going to go look that up myself, but maybe that has some meaning for you. Another word that was surfacing when we had Mercury retrograde in Scorpio was sticky, and it could be like sticky situations. And also we're still in this, what I've been calling the great unraveling. And interestingly enough, tonight is, around 1 a.m. On the West Coast is the partial full moon eclipse in Gemini. And what I'm really, it's funny, so I have a Gemini rising, and I have many Geminis in my life, and I'm very well versed with Geminian energy. And what I'm getting the strongest is that there will be very big themes. Well, there has been this theme, and it is getting stronger tonight. And because full moons and eclipses are about releasing things, there will be a release of Geminian themes. And the biggest one that sticks out to me is gossip. And it's interesting because typically when we think of gossip, we think about, like the negative effects of that. Like we think about if somebody is gossiping about stuff that we're doing, and what if they're sharing things we don't want people to know or know about? Or what if somebody learns about some shadowy thing that we were doing and we haven't fixed yet or faced yet or addressed yet? And then we think about like trying not to be gossips and things like that. And there's kind of a funny dichotomy in there, because a lot of times what is meant to simply be like processing and venting between two people kind of supporting each other can actually become gossip without intending for it to be gossip. But there's also, like all things, there is light and dark to everything. And Gemini being the twins, which is interesting, especially if you're following this from Twin Flame Journey, is very much about duality. In fact, if you have a sun sign in Gemini, your life has probably been a constant theme of dualities and crossroads and choices and things of that nature. And it's funny because what I'm finding as a theme for me, that I'm feeling called as a theme for those of you who catch this video, is that we're learning also about the positive aspects of gossip. Gossip can also become a saving grace to some degree if something not good is happening and you're afraid to speak up, but it's becoming very apparent to others. Like say you're in some sort of karmic entanglement and it's not going well, but you're afraid to speak up, you're afraid to say something. We often times feel like we'll feel embarrassed or humiliated if we are to be caught in a relationship that feels like it's out of our control or like it's controlling our lives and not good for us, especially if we get hurt. It's a very big trauma response, in fact, to even get angry at other people for saying, hey, you're being abused, that's not okay. Or to say, hey, I want to help you, this isn't okay. In fact, we sometimes even dive even deeper into our own shadows to try to prevent that reality from being real and convince ourselves that nobody can see what's really happening. Although the irony is, being humans and being social as we are, which is some of the lessons that the sign of Gemini comes to teach, is that, well, how can I say it? Time reveals truth. And so you can say that you are some way, or you can say that your relationship is a certain way, or that your life is a good way, or even that you don't give a crap about what anyone thinks, but time will reveal whether or not you do. Time will reveal whether or not someone or something is good for you, or you are good for someone or something. And gossip can actually become a, well, it's, I mean, you can look through it, you know, think about things like, what comes to mind is, like Harriet Tubman, and times when they were trying to, you know, get people who had been enslaved out of slavery and into states where they were free. I won't say free. I was going to say safe, and it still wasn't safe, but I mean, spreading the rumor of a safe passage out was a form of gossip that helped, right? And so there are many ways that gossip can also help, just as much as it can hurt. Now, on the same end of that, gossip is in and of itself a duality. In order to help, it must also hurt someone. Usually those that are not facing their shadows and not facing their karma, and that can be on either side. That can be somebody who is very toxic and hurting others, and that can be someone who is allowing themselves to be hurt by others. I'm really being called back though to the time theme. Like, time reveals all, and it's feeling like, oh wow, it's 2:41 on the clock, which is 7, which is momentum and victory. It can also be connected with police, and there's some, it's connected to Cancer energy. So I don't know if you are a Cancer, or you know someone who's a Cancer, or you have Cancerian energies, but it's close to, it's the sign right after Gemini too, and we have a moon in Cancer coming right after. So it might be that right now even that there is gossip going on that you're not aware of. You may have even participated in it without being aware of it, but there's something going on. And it kind of has a theme to gossip that went on, I want to say, anywhere between 7 and 12 months ago. And it has a theme also with at least as far back as last October, maybe a little bit before that, and kind of this theme of unraveling people who have had control over us, or at least we thought they did, or we were giving it to them through gossip or fear of being publicly embarrassed or emotional blackmail. I'm hearing, it's funny hearing that car horn, right? So something about that. And usually people that are very loud and very dramatic and either trying to break into our fear centers, or who act like, I don't know, I'm kind of reminded, I did an older video talked about, you know, you have very little to fear from barking dogs. Like, they're warning you, they're telling you, I'm afraid, or they're really not even that afraid. I mean, I don't know about any of you, but I've had plenty of times that dogs will be very afraid and barking because they're not sure if I'm good or a threat, and usually something as simple as just sit down on the ground and let them come up and sniff you and smell you, and they find that you're fine. But it's the dogs that don't bark. It's the ones that are quiet and either like baring their teeth or growling. Those are the ones that you have a little bit more to worry about sometimes. And so, I don't know, there could be some theme with that. It could be that for some of you, or many of you, there might be some sort of karmic energy either coming out through you or coming out through karmics that have been in your energy community, some sort of like connection to you, who have been quiet, who might start trying to nip and bite, or it might be that you start nipping and biting, depending on what your situation is. And also with Gemini, I'm getting the pull in that we are, so Gemini I put in a house, and the house of Gemini, the third house, is the dining room table. And I have it there because it's all about like siblings and the nuclear family and connections of that nature, and small amounts of travel around them. So we have those connections, they're mercurial connections about communication. So you might either find that if you've had regular communications, that there might be less communication. I just saw 10:15 on the timer, which is 7 again. So you might have fewer communications with somebody, or you might get unexpected communications from somebody, or you might send out unexpected communications. Gemini is the sign of communication, so there is going to be a theme of communication going on. Which reminds me, another theme that's been coming up is Columbia. I'm not sure exactly what that connection is, and also with music and with kind of this head versus heart sort of scenario, like, and a lot of times we find ourselves in karmic and or toxic entanglements because we choose our head over our heart, and we convince ourselves that it's either too scary to go with our heart, or that a situation we've gotten ourselves in needs to be prioritized even if we got into it with our heads. I saw 11:11 on the timer. There's many reasons. Either way, these themes are coming up for me and felt called to share with you. I'm also seeing some, I just had an image of peas, like peas that you eat. My kids used to call them green balls. And there's now an EMT rushing down the street, so I don't know why those two things seem to have come up at the same time, but sit and ponder them. Maybe be the hanged man for a little while, or hanged woman, and see what messages have come through this message to you that might help you cultivate and co-create the week ahead that you would like. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.